the worst part of living in the world of short form content is like you ingest so much different pieces of content, your brain just starts to melt, and then you get
Uh-huh.
depressed, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? And then you go down some rabbit hole of like politics and things, and you just don't want to be there.
Well, Dom, the first thing I want to ask you is why did you quit your job?
Why did I quit my job? Are you asking me because of this wonderfully
Of
placed t-shirt
course,
right
I'm
here?
asking you because of the perfect product placement of your t-shirt.
This is literally the conversation starter to all my meetings, networking, sales, whatever it is. Like that's how we start things. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Why did I quit my job? Well, I just love content. I just love doing anything I can in the space of video. And over the past couple of years, I've just spent a lot of time in short form video, typically for B2B software companies, where it got to a point where I was like, I kind of want to quit my like sales and marketing job and just go all in on this and like create short form content for every company I can. And so I actually made this t-shirt because I was going to a conference the same week that I quit my job. And my profile on LinkedIn was like in the transition period where like I didn't have a job on there or anything.
Hmm.
So that helped me start a lot of conversations with folks and then get some potential prospects and clients on my radar. We connected over LinkedIn. So that was kind of just like a little stunt, $0. Well, not $0, like a $6 stunt that I pulled at a conference event, and it worked out. So that's why I have it there. And I kind of place it there to remind myself, whenever times get tough, why I did it.
Like one of the reasons I want to talk to you today, because I think people overthink like how do I get stuff that needs to be perfect? Everything needs to be flawless, especially if I'm on video. And so like we're gonna dig into this today. Like, how do you actually come up with
How
good
do you do
video
it?
ideas? Yeah, how do you do it? So like this is the first thing I'm gonna ask you is the most broad possible question of like people who say like I don't know what to post, like
Yeah.
what do you tell them? How do
What do you
you like
post?
start that conversation? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? When you actually asked me to hop on this LinkedIn Live and you told me the title, I put like a lot of time into thinking of like, what is the one sentence that I can say to like answer that question? Like what do people post? What should they
Mhm.
post? And I was like engineering this entire like strategy, trying to like take everything from my brain and put it on paper. And then I realized like all that just nonsense. Like sure, there's like very specific things to say to people to like, get them to post, and we can talk about their ICP and their go-to-market strategy and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, what I really think people should post is stuff that they just feel proud of at the end of the day. And usually it is some sort of combination between the message they're trying to get across and their personality. And you'll see the most successful creators out there are doing that. Like they're talking about something that they're passionate about, or talking about a message or a narrative that they're trying to push. And at the same time, they're doing something that they just love doing. So I guess short answer, do something that you're proud of.
So I love that, and I want to like dig into it because I like there's a few people on specifically we're talking about LinkedIn, we're on LinkedIn. Like there's a few people that I will watch everything that, and I'm saying you all because you're in this group. Like anytime you post a video, I'm gonna watch like you and like Adamola and like Chris Saccone. And like the thing I think about him is
Yeah.
like Chris will just be like pouring a cup of coffee,
Hmm.
not doing anything. And like I actually have
Yeah.
seen this, there's like psychology that's like just be doing something with your hands. Like I'm gonna move over here,
Yeah.
like just like grab a baseball bat or like pour a cup of coffee. And so, like I said, I do think I will say my biggest weakness when it comes to video is I come from a podcast style background where like I just want to talk into a
Yeah.
microphone. And so for
Yeah.
you, like because you're also very good at producing content, like what comes first for you? Like the like thing you want to say or the like how it's going to be like visualized.
Yeah, that is like a back and forth battle that I always have. Sometimes I come up with a concept and I like want to find a way to like put it into action with some sort of service or some sort of product, or like build the concept out for some company I want to pitch. And other times like I have that message already there and I need to make some sort of concept out of it. And
Mhm.
then typically what happens during like the brainstorming process and the revision process, it's like continuously going back and forth. So like I'll build out this script for, let's say, specifically to make a video about some sort of automation tool. And then I go to the actual like concept of it and I'm like, okay, how can we do this in a way that's like interesting, that's new, authentic, all those buzzwords, right? and I come up with a couple concepts, and I realize that it doesn't necessarily align with the script. And so then I got to go
Mhm.
back to the script, and I got to like kind of tinker with the script, tinker with the language, the wording, the pauses and the cues to make it fit whatever we're doing. And then I have to go back to what we're doing and do the same thing. So it's always going back and forth. But I guess the most fun ones are when I have the concept already in mind and I just want to pitch it to a company and I'm like, hey, like, let's
Mhm.
just try this weird thing that no one's doing yet.
You mentioned going back to the scripts and like working things out. I want to ask about like the actual when you have a script and the like producing it as it like basically saying the script to camera. How do you recommend they get comfortable in front of camera? Because I know this is something you like coach people on a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a difference between getting comfortable in front of the camera and then finding the easiest path to producing content. Typically, the easiest path is to align with the personality and the typical style of speaking that the person on camera is going to be doing. So I would say matching the personality of the person, matching how they speak, matching what they're good at. So it really just comes down to like what you're already comfortable with and how we can use that in the content.
I'm curious for you, like how do you craft like basically those first 3 seconds so someone doesn't swipe away? Like when you're building on an idea, are you thinking about that like immediate hook? Or I guess just like take me
Yeah.
through that aspect.
Always. Yeah. I think it's always about the hook.
Mhm.
What I do really is I have to craft hooks. I have to craft like I typically craft like 3 to 4 hooks per video. And
Mhm.
then when I'm in the editing process, I will edit like 4 videos and I will show those 4 videos to like a sample size of people. And when I mean sample size, like it's not some sort of like, crazy like complex thing. Like I'll probably send it to my buddies and my mom and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And then if my mom like says, oh my God, this video is so good, like I know it's probably bad because like she's just not being honest with me. So things like that. I have been so like of course like we live in the LinkedIn world. We live in the LinkedIn bubble. LinkedIn is not as advanced as other social media platforms are at this point in time, unfortunately. Some of my clients live on Instagram and Instagram has this great tool called trial reels. And so what we do is we create 3, 4 different videos, but the first 2 seconds of each video is completely different. We
Mhm.
test which ones gets the highest viewership in 24 hours, and then we post that.
You can literally A/B test on
Yeah.
Instagram,
Yeah.
not so
Yeah.
much on LinkedIn. You just kinda have to I mean,
Not
you
so
can
much on
create
LinkedIn.
yeah.
Yeah, you can. The thing that's been really helpful for Instagram, for a lot of my LinkedIn clients at least, is that what typically does really well on Instagram has a higher likelihood of doing well on LinkedIn. In
Mhm.
in terms of like you already have to have some sort of audience out there, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have no audience on LinkedIn, you post a video, it's probably going to be pretty bad. You're just not going to get a lot of reach. But if
Yeah.
you already have an audience, test it on TikTok and Instagram. Typically, videos do a lot better there than they do on LinkedIn. And if they do really well there, they may have a higher likelihood of doing well on LinkedIn. My buddy Giulio Segantini does this with his cold call content, and it
Mhm.
performs relatively well. He just picks which one to post on LinkedIn. And he's been posting a lot more videos on Instagram.
I think it's also interesting when you're creating short form stuff like this. It performs like even just the short form from like TikTok to Instagram to LinkedIn to YouTube. Like I'll see like food creators that I really enjoy and I'll see their videos on different and they're just like slightly different because they know that the algorithm is a little bit different in different on different platforms and it's stuff that again like to get back to not to like pitch people to work with Dom or like share your genius but like that's what those are the things you need to know and it's tough to know that if you're not doing it every single day which is what Dom lives and breathes when he's doing this is there like a simple hook formula people could apply that are listening to this like today like just they could start testing out hooks.
So, like one that I wrote down here was if you are an X and you can like put in a title, put in somebody's situation. If you are an X or you are in X and you're
Mhm.
experiencing Y, this is how you can achieve Z, right? And so you're first like having the audience understand who it's for, and that way it's targeted. Then you're giving them an outcome that they want to achieve. And then you're going to give them like a very brief trailer of like how to achieve it before that initial 3 to 5 seconds stop. And then you get into the actual meat of it. And so that one typically does very well. Another one that I've tested that's done well is the levels. The rule of three, the levels. People have different names for it, but basically like here are 3 levels of X. I think I made one once that was like here are the 3 levels of content or short form content, and then like level one is whatever the base. Level 2 is medium. Level 3 is, the highest, of course. But that just like gets people's attention because it's like, okay, I know something is going to come later into the video. I want that payoff. And then you give them these little incremental, like bite-sized pieces that build up that climax. And finally, it's like, okay, that was the payoff. Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to now follow you because I enjoy your education.
You mentioned like updating hooks
Yeah.
monthly and like
Yeah.
with a lot of frequency. For you, building out those templates of hooks that you want to create, like I guess this is going to be a dumb question, but like how? Like where are you
Yeah.
finding temps? Is it just
Yeah.
from ingesting so much content and like how do you constantly think like, okay, I need to tweak this
Yeah.
and here's how I do
It's
it?
just it's doom scrolling. It's like the worst part of living in the world of short form content is like you ingest so much different pieces of content, your brain just starts to melt and then you get
Uh-huh.
depressed and you're like, what am I doing with my life? And then you go down some rabbit hole of like politics and things and you just don't want to be there. And that has happened to me 4 times this week already. So that's the reality is like I ingest so much short form content to the point where it's like it's addictive.
Yeah.
It's not addictive in the sense of like I enjoy the dopamine and I enjoy scrolling, but it's addictive in the sense that like there's so much I don't know and I want to learn more. And every time I see a really good video, I save that video. I write it
Mhm.
down and then I break it down into pieces. And I just like on a notepad, I'm breaking down the first 3 seconds. I'm breaking down the transitions, the shots. I'm just I'm a nerd, when it
Yeah.
comes to that stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Something I want to ask you about, because obviously you work with a bunch of brands and like from a brand standpoint, working with a video production agency, a thought, a
Yeah.
content agency of any kind, like it's a big investment and it's an opportunity to create trust in the market and people know your face. They trust you. And when a brand comes to you, like I want to talk about the best experiences you've had because it
Yeah.
can be really hard as a person who has long owned brand voices to go to someone
Yeah.
else and then just completely trust like, all right, Dom, here's a bunch of money and also just do whatever you're going to do. Like for anybody who is watching this from a brand standpoint, I guess what's the biggest mistakes brands make when trying to like manage creator content? I want to hear about the like, let's talk about the bad first and then the good examples of this.
Well, it's just because I've dealt with a good amount of brands at this point where there were ones that were clearly very easy to work with and their
Mhm.
content ended up performing well because of it. And there were, a couple ones that weren't so easy to work with. And the content, of course, didn't perform as well as I wanted it to. There's definitely some sort of cocktail of like the best possible brand to work with, best possible client, in my eyes. And it would typically be somebody who like is already a little established in their niche. They have the ability to risk, which either means like they have money to throw at content or they have bandwidth to do it, right? Whatever that looks like. That's why I enjoy working with more like Series B and Series C companies because like, they already have some sort of benchmarks. They've tried it and they want to just put more fuel in the fire. Also, it helps to like not be so serious about how people perceive you. A lot about short form content, at least, is testing and reiterating and trying different formats and seeing what sticks, what performs, and what you can be known for at the end of the day. And unfortunately, some brands don't want to do that. Like they're so narrow sighted and they believe that they are this way. This is how they want to be perceived, and that's the way they will always be. And that just hinders them from exploring different avenues and seeing how they can kind of change their narrative and change how they perceive in the market. And that one kind of just sucks because like you have a great idea for a brand and like you pitch it and they're like, yeah, we don't want to do that. We want to do this instead.
Yeah. How do you like if a brand is working with like 5 to 10 creators, both like internal and external, how can they avoid everyone sounding like the exact same?
Yeah, I mean, I was part of one of those very recently, which I was actually very happy how it came out because they didn't give me any guidelines or anything. They didn't even give me talking points. They were just like, we're gonna send you a box, make a video about it, however you'd like. And I got to make a video, in my typical like unhinged satire way, and it was fun. But I think when brands just put too many guardrails and try to like put their words into the creator's mouth, that's when things start to get bad. Now, there are ways you can protect and try to like not have that happen. And it typically involves the creator stepping up and saying, hey, listen, no, like this is my audience and this is how they like this is the content that they like. I'm not going to be pushing this specific language just because like that's part of the campaign. But it all also just comes down to the brands themselves being open with the idea that like they are renting an audience for a day or
Mhm.
for a month or however long that engagement is. They need to understand that they are not the expert in speaking to that creator's audience. That creator is the expert because it's their audience, right?
If you have one good idea, how do you repurpose that idea into multiple short videos?
We should absolutely repeat it all the time. Every
Mhm.
single month, you should rinse and repeat it. Yeah, just for context, not to like plug my own thing in here, but like the way I typically operate with clients is like we build out this topic bank, and topic bank has like anywhere between 15 to 20 topics, but those are not strict video ideas. Those are topics that you will always come back and reintroduce, whether you want to use that topic for a funny top of funnel skit, or you want to use that topic for like a middle funnel educational video or a bottom of funnel ad. You can always go back and forth. And it doesn't even need to be video. It could be text too.
I love it. Beautiful. All right, Dom. Thank you for doing this. We're gonna
This
keep
is so
chatting
fun.
privately here, but I appreciate you doing this with me,
Yeah.
man.
I love it. Yeah.